Yeah, that's right. Okay, so I think we're going to get started. I know we might have a straggler or two join us
Yes, absolutely.
shortly. That does have a tendency to happen, and that's perfectly okay. So
Don't worry, she'll come skiing along shortly.
Ivan, are you on the road?
Oh yeah, I'm on the road. Yeah, I'm actually just doing a training this morning. So, yeah, so I'm here. I'm gonna have to jump off at about 9:30, but.
So we want to make sure we can, fit in all of the. I'm not sure actually if Catherine's coming.
Yeah, she just sent me a text. She says that she's on her way.
Okay,
She's
perfect.
coming
So,
down the Karen Lee Gardner.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And I wouldn't be surprised to see Adam show up in about 10 minutes.
That's right. As usual. Yeah. He RSVP'd, so.
That's all good. Okay, so we'll start off just by saying good morning. Welcome to this Great Cities Morning Hustle. My name is Sherry Lozier. I get to host this fantastic conversation on a weekly basis. These weekly seminars that we've been running through the pandemic season, we'll call it, because I'd like to think that it'll soon be passing. Maybe, after we get that first hump back to school over with. And we are going to be making some serious changes to the shows coming up soon, but we'll talk about that a little bit later today. But I really just wanted first to thank everybody for coming. And let's do a really quick, just introduce yourself and what you do. 15 seconds, let's go around the room. And how about we start with Aiden today?
All right. My name is Aiden Lefebvre, and I am the curator here at Grace Gallery in Brantford, Ontario, at the corner of Queen and Nelson Street. And I run an art gallery, and it has 23 artists here that contain local, national, and international artists. And I also run a student residence called Scholars Hall, and I'm the residential manager for that.
Awesome. Wonderful. Welcome this morning. And Sita, how about you?
Morning, everybody. So as my title says here, space and decorating specialist. Pretty much I love the art of organizing space. It could be small space or large space. I just love organizing and putting order back into a room, and I feel like that personally gives me a lot of joy, and I love the satisfaction of being able to offer someone the same sort of feeling of organization to their space. So I love doing that for myself, and I love helping other people as well.
Fantastic. Welcome. Maggie, you're up.
Okay. Well, I'm Maggie Stice. I am a freelance writer. My specialty is travel, but I can write for any industry. And basically, I'll take what's unique about your company, use my skills, my writing skills, to help you, to promote you and help you stand out.
Awesome.
That's it.
Okay, fantastic. Teresa, how about you? Are you able to jump on? Yay.
Hey, so my name's Teresa, and I am with my agency, and we're a marketing company, and we do anything from design to your business card to your social media. I haven't had enough coffee this morning. Your SEO, your websites, your designs, all that fun stuff.
Awesome, fantastic. Ivan?
Ivan, of course, marketer by trade, but also the city leader for Hamilton. And we're just building Hamilton.
Very good. Wonderful. And last but not least, Adam.
He is here. Awesome.
He just snuck in.
That's good.
Yeah, a couple minutes late, but glad to be here nonetheless.
That's good.
My name is Adam. I am a freelance web designer and mobile developer. And my job is to help make whatever you're building a reality. My company, Adamant Industries, believes very much in this idea of perfection through iteration. That no matter how long it takes, no matter what it takes, we'll make what you're building a reality.
Very good. You know what I love? I love that your elevator pitch has been an example of exactly that.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. It took like
Some days it
5 minutes.
flows, and other days you need to rethink it, but it always sounds good.
Thank you.
All right. Well, this morning we're going to talk about motivation. This is why I know that Catherine was excited about coming, because she was really excited when I said that last week. We're going to talk about motivation. So, what's that?
Just yay.
So, first
Trying
of
to
all,
show some excitement.
I want to start off by asking what motivation means to you guys, because it does have a tendency to mean different things to different people. So throw out your thoughts really quickly.
Probably how you overcome procrastination. Like, how do you get through that barrier of, oh God, I really don't want to do this right now?
Okay, very good. What do you think, Maggie?
Like
You got
goal
something?
accomplishments.
Goal accomplishments. Yeah, that's great, Teresa. Sorry, Maggie, go ahead.
I was just saying what Adam said. You know, I agree with him.
It's getting past the procrastination. Yeah, for sure. Anybody else? Does it mean anything different to you guys? Okay. Well, that's just it. It can mean different things. Motivation, I think most people get the concept of it. But what it really comes down to is actually the drive that pushes us towards something or away from something. So as much as it can be about goal setting, it can also be about avoiding something or moving away, changing direction. Excuse me. So we have to keep in mind that it's really the drive piece. It's not the action, it's actually the desire or the why and the reward that really is what motivation's about. So if you can understand what your desire is, what your why is, and then you can understand what the reward is for you. And by reward, I don't mean a Krispy Kreme donut necessarily, but that could be it. But what are you getting out of it in the end? If you know those two things, those are really significant in the ability to utilize the emotion of motivation. And I say that because motivation truly is just an emotion. Just like sometimes we feel a little sad and sometimes we feel a little bored, sometimes we feel a little angry or a lot angry, sometimes we feel a little happy, sometimes we feel a little motivated, hopefully sometimes we feel a lot motivated. But ultimately it comes down to emotions, because it's the drive strength in the moment that is really what motivation is. And then when you add it together, that's what gets you from point A to point B. So we're really talking about breaking this down into the separate components and how you can utilize that knowledge to keep moving you forward or to break you through those procrastination barriers. And that was why I thought this was a good add-on to last week when we talked about what procrastination is and understanding the barrier itself. What we also need, though, is to understand why we want to be on the other side of that barrier. We have to be able to connect to that. It's really important. So I actually am thinking what we're going to start with is we're going to start with a list of what is it that you would really like to focus on that's getting in the way. Motivation. So what's the thing you want to feel motivated about doing? What is it that you want to be able to feel like you're just driven to do it? And so I want everybody to think about that, think about what that is. And then we're going to go around and I'm going to actually write down each of your motivators, because we're also going to talk about the kinds of things that motivate us. Okay. So Adam, how about we start with you?
So the kind of things that motivate me.
No,
right?
The question is, what is something that you really want to be motivated about?
Probably pushing through work I don't really want to do, or getting past that fear of, what if I do something wrong, right? That can be a kind of a demotivating thing after a while.
Pick a task. Pick a specific task for me.
Okay. Let's say that okay, this is kind of true here. I'm building a website at the moment for a very specific person in this room. I'm essentially putting together a group of different kinds of themes and stuff like that, and the color scheme and a lot of other things that we've touched on. All what I need to do is put them in, make sure that it works. Even though I know that this is a first pass, a small part of me wants to nail this at the first shot, if only so that way it frees me up to do other things and I don't have to worry about it quite as much. Realistically, that's not the case, but it is something that is on my mind. So that kind of perfectionist slash, let's just get this done with kind of thing can really bog you down. It's one of those things that can be a detriment.
Okay, so your goal for your thing you want to be motivated to work towards is specifically finishing that website or getting the first draft of that website.
Yes.
Okay. First draft, important. Okay. All right. Sita, what about you? What's one thing that you want to be motivated about? One task, one activity.
Like a consistent kind of energy to like just to get to remain in that spirit of zeal.
Okay. And in regards to what?
Just being like stay in that space like consistently, like through it all. It's not going to be like one specific area, like for whatever work I need to do, I would just like to remain consistently zealous.
Okay.
Because that's what I would need for all the work, for it to be accomplished in a way that I could feel good about.
Okay, so you're looking for that consistent sense of motivation.
Right.
Okay. All right, perfect. Ivan, what is one task that you want to be able to feel motivated to focus on and get it done?
I can't think of anything right now that's outside of what I'm already focused on. I mean, I was distracted before with a lot of things, but I've actually just offloaded a lot of those things. So I'm pretty focused on exactly where I'm pretty motivated to get it done.
What's that thing? Pick one thing.
Just growing this city.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we'll come back to that in a little bit. So you're not off the hook just because you think you got it all.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, Sherry, I knew you'd be impressed when you sent me a text this morning and I responded to you at just after 6.
I'm not going to lie. I did actually look at the clock and go, wow.
Yeah, that's motivation. I'm telling you.
That's right. That's right. Okay, Aiden, one task you need to focus your motivation on.
I could use a lot of motivation. I have been struggling with motivation for a while. I don't have a lot of people who give me a lot of what are they called?
Encouragement?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, encouragement and
we're gonna talk about general
and accolades. I don't have a whole lot of accolades. Even just looking at accolades in the morning. But anyway.
Okay.
So basically, I would love to see. I would love to have that zest, in the zest and the energy to be able to, get up and have the energy to go and get things accomplished, get things done. I know I'm a really busy person on a regular basis, but I'm like in the mood to like say, oh, I don't want to do this today. I don't want to I know I got so much work to do and I don't want to do it. but yeah, so I kind of like talk myself out of the energy and I lose my energy.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is. Okay, so we're going to focus on general motivation for you because that's also important to recognize. Teresa, what about you?
She's off the call. She's not even in there anymore.
Yeah, she's there.
Oh, she is? Where is she?
She's just on mute.
Yeah, sorry, I was just on the other line.
Oh, that's okay. Sorry.
Oh, there she is. There you go.
There's quite a few for me, I think, staying focused, more leadership, just having more energy to go from the beginning to the very end, not just halfway and going, okay, I'm moving on to something else. And then, yeah, doing those things that, I prefer not to do or give someone else, even though I know that someone else can't do it. So getting it done.
Okay.
And yeah.
All right. So that's interesting because the finishing a project is a really good point. So I'm going to put that down for you. Maggie, what have you got?
More writing, I think,
Okay.
but also more. One of the things I've been kind of figuring, I know I need to get a proper social media plan in place, and that's something I haven't done yet.
Okay.
I've been all over the place, so that's sort of one thing. That finishing my novel.
Okay. All right. And last but not least, Catherine, one thing that you want to be motivated to do and take care of.
Time management.
Okay, time management, that's big, right?
Yeah, I'm really struggling since COVID,
Mhm.
when you could putter all day from 8 to 8, right? Because you were never really working all that hard because there was nothing really pressing.
Yeah, yeah, so true. Okay, all right, good, time management. Okay, so I want to talk about, first of all, the two elements of motivation that sometimes we don't necessarily recognize. And it's important because we need to know where we think we're getting our motivation from and where we actually get motivation from. So I'm going to talk about internal and external motivation. So when we talk about internal motivation, this is really the core of things. But when we talk about external motivation, this is where we are often looking for someone else's behaviors, responses to us, cues. It could be anything, but we're looking externally for someone else to give us motivation. And you kind of have to look at it this way. I have, motivation to do the things I'm doing, and those things are important to me. And so I can be excited and motivated. And I can give you what we would call sort of a little bit of emotional overspill, right? Emotions can be a little bit of a contagion. So in the moment, I'm sharing with you something, I have this thing happening and I'm really excited about it. And hey, I could probably include you in that a little bit, and maybe it'll be good for your business. And, those things are really about my emotional moment, my motivation, my excitement, and it's rubbing off on you. And in that moment, you're going to feel a little bit of that excitement as well. The problem is this: it's not yours. It's actually mine. It doesn't belong to you. You can't keep it because it's not attached to anything. It's kind of like a little balloon that once you've, opened it up to let a little bit of that air out, to breathe it in, eventually that balloon empties. There's nothing left for you to breathe in through that. So you have to keep in mind that any motivation that you believe you're getting from an external source ultimately has an incredibly short shelf life and is not connected to anything meaningful to you. So it's unlikely that it's really going to have an impact. And if you're fortunate enough to have a zillion motivational people around you who are constantly fueling you, great. But what happens when they're gone? What happens when they're not around? those people are of no use to you whatsoever. I mean, you can go back and you can remember it, but you're not going to get the impact out of it. So external motivation is not you. It is just about the overflow from someone else. Internal motivation, on the other side, is really about tapping into the resources that you actually have and own and making use of those. It's kind of like, Ivan's gonna love this one. Taking your resources and turning it into something you want or need, like turning water into wine.
I'm loving the references. I'm loving the references. That's good.
At this point, I'm just looking for them. You got to know that, right?
Yeah, I love it.
So I want you guys to think about it from that perspective. So what are you looking for? So Aiden, for example, one of the challenges you identified is that you don't have a lot of external sources providing you that encouragement, giving you those accolades, right? To keep you going and keep you motivated. But the reality is that you do have those resources internally. You just have to learn how to tap into them. That's all it is. So I'm going to give you a quick little run through, and then I need a guinea pig. Let's see. Actually, I think maybe Catherine, you would be a good guinea pig. Would you be game for being a guinea pig? Okay. So I love how she said yes. You have no idea how much this warms my heart because she said yes before she even knows what I'm about to do to her. Now she's cringing. So we're actually going to do a bit of a mini coaching session. So this is full on what real coaching actually is, not this stuff you guys see me doing on a weekly basis where I'm just really spouting stuff off. We're going to do a mini coaching session. So I'm going to try and keep it short. And I'm focusing on Catherine, not because any particular reason, except that I think that we can uncover some stuff that will be beneficial for everybody. And it probably won't be too deep, because a normal coaching session could take anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half. So we don't have that kind of time. So first what I want to do though is I want to talk about some of the components of motivation. And I'm mentioning these because I think there's an advantage to Catherine hearing them before we start this little session. So the first thing is really understanding your why. And this is something that you can't just make up. You can't just make this up. It's not something that you'd be like, well, it sounds lovely when I say this. No, this is something that is so deeply ingrained in your soul. You don't know why it's a why, but it's there, and you'll find it uncovering you at uncomfortable moments. In other words, you say you want this, but then ultimately this is how you behave, and you're like, why? Why do I always do that to myself? So the why is underneath, and you really need to get down to that. That's a whole nother thing. So let's not go into that, but recognizing that it's worthwhile spending the time and energy digging into that. The next piece is understanding your values, and values are extremely important. You don't know what your values are. And again, these are very intrinsically built into who you are. If you don't know your values, I can guarantee that they will be the things pushing you off the path that you think that you're supposed to be on. They're going to keep nudging you. No, go this way. Go this way. And it's you're
Cream would be awesome. Thank you.
muting Ivan. Oh no, I can't mute Ivan. Sorry, I don't have control. Sorry, Ivan. So you really want to be aware of those values, because it's your why and the values that literally are what light the pathway. It's like a runway in the airport. It's lit up. They're telling you what the name of it is. It's painted in the middle of it in neon, reflective paint, and the lights are lit up all the way down. Another piece of importance around motivation is about routines. And I know some people really like, trust me, I love flexibility. I will tell you that on my little thing over here, the very first word is freedom and the second one is flexibility. So don't try to stick me in a box. So understanding what the difference is between regular routine and routine that matters to you only comes from understanding your why and understanding your values. You also need not just the routine, but you also need a triage package. You need to know how to handle that crash. And that is huge because the crash can really have long-term impacts. And usually they throw you off your routine. So you have got to deal with the crash to get back into routine that will keep you on your path. And then writing down all of your steps that you know you need to accomplish. It doesn't matter what we're talking about here, whether it's one task related thing or whether it's a big thing. Whatever those steps are, you need to actually write them down. I will tell you that your brain is wired in such a way that the more tactile the things are that we do, the more that we absorb information, the more that it becomes a part of how we operate. It becomes more familiar and comfortable. It requires a different part of the brain to write down your goals, your list of things to do, than it requires for you to think about it. Which means you're engaging additional parts of your brain to accomplish a goal. The more parts of your brain, the more effective you're going to be. Sounds really simple, right? It actually kind of is that simple. And rewards. Ugh, we talked about this last week. You've got to build the rewards in. Without rewards, why bother? Now, the reward is not necessarily mean you run off to Krispy Kreme and have a donut, but sometimes it is. The reward is the tie back, though, to what the why was. It's always, okay, that was painful. I got through it. I hated every minute of it. But you know what? Look how much closer I am to my why. Look at how much of an impact I had on what was really important to me. It's also really important to recognize that one of the largest challenges we have are what I like to call shiny objects. I know you all know what they are. If I said to you, I want you to make a list, and this is a great activity for you guys to do after this because this will really help you hone in on things. I want you to make a list of all the things you're working on, all the things you're doing, everything you're responsible for. That includes what's going on at home. That includes what's going on in the community. That includes everything you're spending your time doing. Make that list. And then I want you to think about whether or not that contributes to you getting to your why. If it doesn't, get rid of it. If it does not contribute to one of your goals or your why, your bigger why, that mission that you really have in life, get rid of it. All it is doing is absorbing your time and energy that you could be using to be much more effective at what it is that's important, okay? Sole focus. That doesn't mean you only have one thing in life you're working on, right? We could be doing many projects. I am always doing many projects. But if you ask me, I can tell you how every single one of those projects leads back to the same thing. It's always about empowering people with more knowledge and more skill than what they had before to break down the barriers to get to their own goals. Ultimately, if I'm not accomplishing that in what I'm doing, I'm wasting my time and I won't do it anymore. I will get to a moment and be like, why am I doing this? And then I'm done. Okay?
That's
okay.
Interesting because.
Go ahead, Sita.
No, I said that's interesting because sometimes you don't always are aware of where some of your time goes. So to actually put it down on paper and just really reflect on what and where and how much time is being put towards whatever it is you're doing, it kind of makes you take a step back and be like, oh wow, I spent a lot of time on this or on that. I didn't know I was spending, to just be more aware of where you're allocating your time.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing actually how many things we can be distracted by. If you have a ritual where an hour and a half every day you end up spending playing what's that game? Candy Crush. Does anybody still play that? I've never played it in my life, I'm just saying. But if you know that that's what you're doing, but there's a reason you're doing that, if that's the thing that allows your brain to process everything that's happened over the course of the day and you really need that downtime, and you can do this without thinking about it, and at the same time process, okay, then by all means do it. I'm not saying don't do that stuff. But when you realize that every time you're distracted or you're not sure what to do next in the course of your day, and you pick up your phone and you're like, let's check Facebook, right? How many times a day does that happen? Whereas Whereas if you say, okay, I need to go to Facebook because I need to do this, 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 and this, and then I'm going to spend 10 minutes and I'm going to just like people's posts and comment, just, do my connecting with my family and friends. Okay, well, there's still intent behind it. And I think that's really what it comes down to is the intent, right? Okay, so Catherine, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. I know this, I make this sound like there's some big buildup. It's really not so bad. Okay, so, this is being recorded. So I would normally go through a conversation at the beginning of a coaching session and require that if we were in a closed group, that everybody would commit to the fact that anything that's said here isn't shared around. But Catherine, you are aware that this is recorded. If you have any issues with it being shared, please let Ivan know so he can remove it. And if you're okay with it being shared, then I would just remind everybody in the group that whatever we talk about today, whatever Catherine divulges in her moments of self-exploration, please respect her privacy and respect that she's being vulnerable in front of all of you right now. So what we talk about doesn't go outside of this, again, unless you choose for it to, so that's fine. This is meant for you to uncover for yourself what you need to figure out. So I'm not going to be telling you, so all this stuff we just talked about, that's not for me to do in this. This is about you uncovering. You're going to find me asking you a lot of questions, and it's going to seem like I'm not being helpful at all. I promise you, I am. So let's start at the very beginning. And if any time you need a break or you need to take a step back, please feel free. And just know that, believe it or not, when we start doing this, doesn't matter if it's business related, sometimes this can be emotionally intense because we are confronting ourselves. So don't feel awkward about that. And if you feel like you would be more comfortable turning your video off, you're more than welcome to do that. And no, bless you. Okay, so let's start this. I'm going to just watch the time purely because we're going to try and keep it condensed. So we have a few minutes afterwards to talk about how this applies for everybody. So if you catch me checking the clock, that's why. Okay. All right. Safe space for you. I want you to think about what it is that you need to work on today.
Okay. You want me to tell you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I have a meeting that I have to get a manual and instructor manual to printers today. I have to do some advertising for an instructor course. Can I look at my list?
How about we pick what you said initially that time management was the thing that you're really struggling with. So I'm gonna kind of take that and see if putting it in a ball is kind of where we're going with this, because it sounds like there's a big list, so there's a lot of things to do.
Yeah, I have to email a couple clients and find out where they are in the training loop and all that.
Okay, so tell me where the challenge is with the time management. Talk about that.
It's, I guess, maybe prioritizing what needs to be done. So I have some other smaller projects that I'm working on and that don't have deadlines. So like the one that you and I are trying to align on, it doesn't really have a deadline. So it's like, well, it keeps getting pushed back. So I've got all these notes that I keep in front of me, but I've not been able to apply any of the notes from our conversation. Right. Okay. So that's still not being done. And then I had a conversation with Teresa about tweaks to the courses that I do have active, and I haven't gotten to them because getting the business is more important than the business that's there. And, and then but I know that if I don't get business going, I'm going to have a gap. And, after having a 5-month gap, I can't afford to have another gap of my own doing, never mind if COVID hits again, right? And that's the other concern. It's like, I got to get it all done in case COVID starts again.
Okay, so it sounds to me like all of those things are creating some discomfort for you.
And then you got life going on, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Grandma, you got some big stuff going on. Congratulations.
So my son's back and forth looking for some help with the driving because it's so expensive to park. My granddaughter, God knows how long she'll be in the hospital, right? My mom just turned 90 on the weekend, so that was Saturday. We had a great, I call it a company barbecue, but that planning is just, it was just like, just need to take a breath this morning. So there's been a lot going on in my life as well.
So tell me what the feelings are. I want you to dig into those. What are the feelings that you are experiencing? Because I feel like I can see them.
I'm starting to get close to being overwhelmed because I've also got my this great city stuff, and I'm trying to connect with people. So yeah, I've got so many different little projects on the go that I don't feel like I'm managing them, and I don't want any to fall through the cracks because they're all really super important to me.
Okay. So what would make you feel like you have a little more under control?
Probably a plan, but that takes time, and I don't know if I got the time to sit down and make a plan. You know, it's one of those.
What would a plan look like?
Being able to see that I'm giving each project the time that it needs somewhere. Like even again, you know, the project that you and I are trying to align on. Again, we don't know if it's even going to happen, but I'd like to put some of your the suggestions we came up with in place so that I don't lose the suggestions that are sitting in a piece of paper on my desks.
Right. Okay.
All those other articles that I print off and rosters that I have. And
so what are the pieces that would need to be in the plan for you to feel like it's a plan that meets your needs right now?
I think how much time I should be dedicating to it.
Okay.
Right.
So
like
you
if
have a list there. Or no, you only have a list of what you have to do today. You didn't do the big list of all the things you're working on.
That's right. Yeah, like the night before you right or during the day you go, oh, I should follow up with so and so tomorrow or in 2 days, right?
Okay. So if you were to make that list that I talked about at the beginning part, where make a list of all of the projects, the things that you're working on, everything you have to deal with, and you were to make that list and assign the amount of time you felt was appropriate to each of those, what do you think you would uncover?
That I probably don't have enough time. I ran out of minutes.
Okay. What else might you uncover?
Maybe it's not such a insurmountable project. Like it's not so daunting anymore. I think I'm building it up like income tax, right? Oh, I got to get all this done, and you know, that has a deadline. But and then when you get doing it, you go, oh, it's a pain in the butt, but it's doable. I find out it's doable.
Do you think that you're maybe building it up, or do you think that you genuinely don't have the time?
I think I'm just building it up.
Okay. All right. So how do we eliminate that sense of buildup right now?
Probably making that list.
Okay. Do you want to take a second and put the first, handful of things down that you're thinking of? Really quickly write
that has to be done?
Yep. The things you're working on, whatever it is. I don't mean just your tasks necessarily. I mean more from a project perspective.
Oh, okay.
And everybody else can be doing this at the same time, actually. This is also rather helpful. So you can make your own list.
So okay, so most of my projects are around my programs.
Okay.
I'm trying to get the mental health so that it'll work virtually, but that's really hard with case studies, and I'm finding it difficult because I haven't got for some reason, the right frame of reference to look at how to make it so interactive. So I am really, really struggling. It's like an equation that I'm missing one important, plus or minus sign, or the brackets aren't in there, to which to do first.
So,
yeah.
So where could you find that plus or minus or set of brackets? Is there a resource that you have that you could tap into that might help?
Sorry?
Is there a resource you could tap into that might help with that?
Yeah, Cynthia might be able to, because I've tried the internet and to look at different case studies and all that. And then they're great. I come up with more great ideas, but I just don't know how to make them work.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And so does that, what's the impact that that has, recognizing that you can reach out to Cynthia?
That's very helpful, actually. Yeah.
Okay.
It takes the onus off of just me. It's not just me doing all the stuff, because it is just me doing all the stuff.
Okay. Are there other things on that list that you have resources that you could reach out to for each one of those individually? If you go through them, what's the next one on the list?
It's the first aid courses. No,
Okay.
probably not. That's me, because I
Okay.
do the back end of that.
All right. Go to the next one on the list.
Just emailing my clients.
Okay. So are there, keep in mind when I say resources, doesn't necessarily mean people. It could be automations. It could be, some ways to just simplify it. So I'll give you an example. Sometimes we can take an email that we've already generated and use the same email, just change names and whatever. Exactly.
Yeah, I've got templates for that. But what I find is when I want to use something I'm not used to, right? So like I have to learn the process so that I can do it. So it's like, oh, wait a minute, it just took me 2 days to figure out how to save 10 minutes. Is that really wise?
So here's one of my tricks that I like to use, and you can tell me whether this fits for you or not. But sometimes we overcomplicate those processes. And one of my favorite tricks is in Outlook, you have that notes section, and I use this all the time. In the notes section, I actually put copies of email bodies in there. So, and then I save it with a title that I would relate to. So for example, if I have an inquiry about something specific, like workshops, I actually just typed up the text for the email. And before I sent it, I just copied it and pasted it into a note in my Outlook. And anytime that I get that inquiry, I just go and copy the text and paste it into the next email.
Instead of the templates.
Yeah. Okay, so sometimes we overthink ways to create processes, and it ends up being more like a make work project. So
yeah,
apply that thought process of how to simplify, not because you don't want to make more work. How do I simplify?
Yeah.
Are there resources that you could utilize that might help with that task?
Okay. All right.
Her brain is now spinning. Talk out loud. Tell me what you're thinking.
Oh, okay. So I'm wondering then any of those corrections that I want to make, if I want to maybe work on Word, get it looking right, get it grammatically and spelling properly, because that is my super weaknesses. I write the way I talk, which isn't always a good thing. And maybe then I can just cut and paste.
Yeah.
Instead of going back and forth between the website and
for sure. Okay. So go to the next thing on the list. Are there resources that you can utilize? And again, now, as you've seen, resources can be different things, right? It can be people, but it can also be a computer program. It can just be a process that you just need to be able to follow. Is there a resource that you can put into place or reach out to or access for the next one on your list that might be helpful?
Well, I've also got to get my Thursday done, right? And get the resources for that stuff.
Okay.
Again, I've got a few articles, but I just haven't had a chance to read them yet and put anything together. And then because I know I'm working physically going on site tomorrow and Friday, it's like, when am I going to do this? Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And my calendar on my computer is too small.
Okay, so what do you need to do about that? What do you need to do about that?
I guess I should be working on a week view rather than a month view, but I don't know if you can do both, because I do like both the visual.
So can I give you another secret?
Sure.
You can open Outlook more than once. So I'm going to show you something. I have to move the camera, guys, for you to see this. So I'm just going to show you some of my messy office, by the way. I have both Outlook open twice, and one is open to my calendar and one is open to emails.
Yeah. Oh, that. Yeah.
So you can do that, and I have a second screen, so there's an advantage that I'm able to do that.
Yeah.
Easier, but so again, sometimes it's the little tricks that we need to figure out. So, I will tell you that for a while there, I got used to having 3 screens, and then when I went down to 1, I was like, I can't find anything. Yeah, having an extra screen, really great way to be able to keep more things in front of you.
Did you find 3-screen work?
Oh, I loved it. But I also, what I was doing at that point in time, I had multiple things that were happening. So I also did foreign currency trading. So I actually had one screen that specifically, if I was trading anything, I had that open. So it was running and I could glance over at it all the time because you have to watch it closely. And then I would be working on, graphic design project and then something for one of my other businesses. So there was quite often a lot of things happening. Whereas now, even with this, so, it could be distinctability, it could be this great city, it could be Mindwave. But now I have systems in place to help streamline that. So I actually am able to put all of my calendars up in that calendar. You can add all of your calendars together.
Okay.
So, okay. So now what I want you to do is I kind of want you to look back at the ones that we've talked about, and what are you feeling when you look at those now, thinking about them?
Better. They look like they're more manageable.
Okay.
Right. So that I'm getting to the point where I'm going, if I do this at this point, and I know that shiny object thing, because I don't look at my emails all the time. Because I could continuously be responding and never get anything done.
Yeah, that's a huge issue. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, there's one more thing that I think might be really worthwhile to consider, and that is if you were to have to actually create a priority list, how would you decide what was at the top of that priority list?
Sometimes it is like a triage, like what's important that day. Am I going to a client's in 2 days and they don't have all their staff with the computer base done, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if it's nothing urgent like that,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Okay. So I'm going to encourage you to go back to that why conversation and back to the values and think about what your sole focus is. And remember that sole focus doesn't mean that I only live for this. Like, that's not it. But when you are driven to do something without even thinking about it, you respond in a way that's like, no, I have no tolerance for that. That's inappropriate, unacceptable, not okay. I absolutely am all about this. Those are the kinds of things that should be the messages that you need to uncover. And that's where you want to go. There's a reason you became a paramedic. And there's a reason that you continue to teach first aid CPR. There's a reason that you've made the choices along the way that are very subconscious. You don't know what they are. And understanding those is really important. What is it that you believe in so firmly that your subconscious has said, this seems like a good path? And then when you were done with that, you continue on that path, but you're still, it's still going that way. Is it helping people? Is it teaching? What is it, right? Empowering. Okay.
Well, great to realize that something that looks insurmountable isn't. Even when I was a paramedic, then it was teaching first aid when people go, oh, I was dreading this, and oh, you made it understand. And now it's that next step of helping people start their own business to realize that becoming an instructor and running your own business, and it gives you options because nobody likes that box unless you've decided where the sides are.
And so I suspect that in finding those people that you want to work with in your building, helping others build their business, you're looking for those people who aren't interested in being stuck in a box, who are looking for freedom and flexibility kind of ideals. And there's probably other things as well. So it's interesting because it's really important to keep coming back to that. And it may take some journaling, and I would encourage everybody to do this. Take some time to do some journaling about what's important to you, what's really important to you. Keep writing, keep writing, keep writing, keep writing, keep writing. Eventually, you're going to start to boil it down to a point where you really get why you do the things that you do. Sometimes personality profiling systems can be helpful in kind of giving you some direction if you feel like you absolutely have no idea. I have one in particular that I use. So, you know, if somebody is really curious and really struggling with that, let me know because I can point you in that direction. Okay, so what I want to ask you now, Catherine, is we're going to come back to where we started from, which was you felt that you needed to prioritize. And we've circled back to that. And I know that we haven't done the actual prioritizing, but you now have a little bit of understanding how to do that. Let me ask you, do you feel like we accomplished the goal that you kind of set out at the beginning?
Somewhat. I mean, that just moved my instructor course to the top, right? And so then I know following that lead that I need to get the supporting material ready and completed for that. So that's the next thing is the editing meeting that I'm having. But no, then the rest is all kind of still sitting there.
Okay. So what I want you to do is think about the process that we just went through and revisit and revisit and revisit. Only this time apply it to each of those pieces, right? Why do they take precedent? Why are they even on your list, right? If they don't fit into that mold of what your subconscious has determined is the most important thing for you to accomplish in your lifetime, because that's really what it's about. If it doesn't fit into that, then you need to look at why you're doing it. Sometimes we're doing it because we have no choice. You can't just exclude everything that it doesn't fit into your why. If your why needs you to do doesn't pay your bills, yeah, you're still going to have to do it. It's not an option. So sometimes we have to be flexible in recognizing that, but ultimately, if paying your bills through what you do does not also work with your why, you need to go back and rethink that, because you're ultimately going to shoot yourself in the foot every time. We're just wired that way. Okay, what did you gain from this conversation?
A better way of looking at my list. So my list might not be, I'm going to say full, completed, right? So I need to really, instead of having what I think is the most important written down and then have the other ones floating in my brain, I should write them all down so that I can really see in stone, if you will. You can get good perspective on which ones really are the most important. What I do is I write the ones that I don't want to forget for sure down. But then I've still got, oh, well, I should touch base with, and I should, oh yeah, I got the 8:30 meeting here and all that kind of stuff, right?
Okay. What's the feeling now? You said at the beginning that you were just about overwhelmed. What's the feeling now?
Better, not completely, because I now I want to see if this is going to work.
Yeah.
You know, it's got to be the magic pill, okay, Sherry?
So sometimes when we go through a coaching session, it's really about, and if we were doing sort of the real full-blown thing, I would have started with, I know Ivan's heard this one too, on a scale of 1 to 10, where is I'm just about overwhelmed? And I would hazard a guess that you're probably about 8 or 9, because 10 would be, okay, I've hit that mark. And, you know, we circle back, and when we get to that point, I say, you know, where are you now? And if you said to me, well, I guess I'm at a 7, then this is the moment where I would go, okay, what's the next step? And we would continue through that. So just know that this was this much of this. And so the idea behind doing that coaching process is giving you the space to answer the questions for yourself, to uncover. It's really about figuring out where the challenge is, where the maneuverability is, what you need to do differently to get where you have to go. So thank you very much for
That's awesome.
amusing me through that process, but I really thought that it would be rather helpful. And it is important to go back and rethink through things. Oftentimes we do make things bigger than what they are in our heads. Whereas if we actually just sit down and make a list, I can't tell you how many times, Dusty will say, oh, you got a busy day. And I'll be like, oh my God, I have so much stuff to do. And then I come and I sit down and I make a list of everything I have to do. I have a system of how I keep things organized. And I'll come and I'll sit down and I'll be like, oh, this isn't so bad. So even though I made the list the day before, and I recognized when I walked out of the office, it wasn't that bad. By the morning, I've convinced myself I have a crazy day. Actually, most of the time I do, but there are times where I will even realize that, in my head, I have had this and this and this and this. It's taking up so much space in my brain that of course it seems enormous, right? Whereas if we get them down on paper, okay, so what I want to do is kind of wrap up two things. So the stuff we talked about in the beginning, I want to give you guys a little bit more meat. I was really hoping that through that, you guys were able to pick up some of the things we talked about. Understanding the why, obviously incredibly important, and getting back to that as well as your values. And if those things are, the runway's pointing the other way, you have got to figure out, how did I end up on this runway and how do I get to the one that I belong on? Okay. Routine. So this is what I want to talk about. So Catherine, in your situation, I would really encourage activity that helps you to unpack, first of all, the shiny objects syndrome. So if for example, that Facebook or emails or whatever it is tends to be the thing that distracts you, set some rules for yourself about using them. For example, every day I am allowed 10 minutes on Facebook before I actually start my my day, and actually set a timer for yourself. If you're aware that emails tend to be one of those things that intrudes constantly, and as soon as you're distracted, it's hard to come back. By the way, sometimes it can take up to 12 minutes once your brain has been distracted from focus to actually completely refocus on a task that you're working on. So create rules for yourself. So I will check my email at specific times, and when I'm not checking my email, I am closing my Outlook. So I can't see them coming in. I'm turning the vibrate off on my phone. I'm putting it in a sandbox out back, whatever I need to do to avoid those emails for the period of time so I'm not distracted. So looking for, and so this would be another piece that we might have worked through to continue a coaching session, would be let's look for how we build a routine for you now. What does the routine look like? If the routine is, I need something to give me a shot in the mornings, we all talk about our coffee. One of the favorite things that I do, especially when I'm going through a tough period where I'm like, oh, I just cannot seem to get focused. I love listening to motivational videos. So my rule of thumb is, if I don't get up in the morning and get going, I don't have any expectation of myself. All I have to do is put on one of those motivational videos. I expect nothing else. I'll just put one of those on. Now I already know as soon as I do that, about 3 minutes into that, I'm like, okay, I can't sit here anymore. Let's get it done. So that works for me, but that may not work for everybody else. So the idea is really to understand the things that remind you need that little adrenaline shot, say, for example. Hi, Ivan. You need that little adrenaline shot to wake you up and get you moving. But ultimately, you constantly need to be reminding yourself of what was most important anyways. What am I going to get out of the things on my list to do today? So if I look at my calendar and I go, oh, I have my morning hustle on my calendar today. Well, I already know that there'll be a couple people who show up that are, we're going to talk about something that they're going to get something out of it. They're going to walk away with just even this much more skill set than what they showed up with. I am meeting my mission with my first meeting of the day. Excellent. Okay, what's next on my list? Okay, so I have a client that I have to, a potential client that I have to talk to, and I know she's going to find, so this is distinctability related, but so I know that she's going to find it very interesting what that assistive tech does. We've talked about this a couple of times. I'm going to share this with her. I can't wait because she's going to see it, and she's going to be so excited. And then I'm going to be able to help her decide what she wants to do next. Again, it's fueling every one of my meetings through the day is doing that. Every one of the things on my list of to-dos is doing that. And at the end of the day, I can sit back and look at everything that I did and be like, okay, so is there anything on here that did not help me move me forward in the day today? Can I remove it? Should I remove it? So having those routines where you're constantly focusing on what's the mission, what's the mission, what's the mission, what's the mission. If the mission it doesn't matter enough to you, you don't care. So the mission has to matter. It has to matter in a way that's like, yeah, I cannot wait to see the look on so-and-so's face when right? It has to matter.
Do you reevaluate that during the day?
Throughout my day, I don't exactly, but mostly because I'm very good about knowing what I need to work on, and realistically, it becomes kind of second nature at a certain point, right? You start thinking, why am I doing this? This doesn't relate to anything I need to deal with. No, done with it. Sometimes you don't have a choice, but I do spend time. I have a bit of a routine for myself where on a weekly basis, I have to clear the decks. I double check and make sure. So my notebooks that I use, where if there's a pink line, it means it's a task that has to be done. If there's not a blue line through it, I haven't done it yet. So I usually, towards the end of the week, go through, make sure that I've cleared the decks. All of those are updated in whatever format I need to update them. And I have the list for my next day and for probably the week that I make, and I leave for myself on my desk so I know that I can check those off. So it helps me, because one of the other problems often is how many other things can you find to do? Oh, I could find things to do. And if I sit down at my desk and I don't have a list of things to do, I'm like, so what could I do? Maybe I should just check Instagram and see what's going on. Right? So if you've got your list of the most important things in front of you, it really does help to make sure that you're constantly focusing on those things as well. So on a daily basis, yeah, kind of. What do I need to do to get this to happen?
Because one of my struggles is the days that I'm on site, I like to focus everything there.
Yeah.
So, you're only taking 1 15-minute break now on these 4-hour courses. And then my half hour is clean up and getting ready for the next class. And so if I look at emails, then I've got to do that. And then it takes away from the classroom. But if I don't look at the emails by 3:30, and then I've got maybe an hour drive home I'm going to be working in Toronto this week. It's like, now I'm getting home at 5 and I haven't touched emails all day.
So sometimes we need to do what I like to call housekeeping. First of all, how many of those are emails that we potentially could find other ways to deal with them?
I'm trying to get the redirects with them to put them into proper folders, because we get I get notified when somebody's signed up for the course, and then when they're finished the course, and I need to keep both of those just in case there's an issue. So they come into my inbox.
And so do you have to respond to those every single time, or can you wait until the week before?
Oh, that one's fine. Yeah.
So stuff like that, yeah. You kind of got to filter through and decide, do I need to deal with every single one of these the minute they come in, or can I have a system? The other thing is changing expectations. If people expect you to respond within 2 hours, because that's typically what you've been doing, well then that's what they're going to continue to expect. But if it's not reasonable, and there are days where you're teaching, there are little tricks and tips that you can use around that. So for example, set an autoresponder on your email that says, today, right? I'm teaching for the full day and likely will not get an opportunity to go through my emails until sometime tomorrow or mid-tomorrow or whatever the case may be. So please be patient, and I promise I will get back to you as quickly as I can. A couple things will happen. First of all, they now know that you're teaching. They won't expect a response back so fast. Second of all, they may recognize that, oh, there are days she's not in the office. So even if you didn't have an autoresponder on, they kind of recognize that sometimes there's going to be a bigger gap between you getting back to them. And the other thing is they're probably going to start thinking about whether or not the email is that important if they know that they're not going to get an answer back from you in the next hour.
Yeah.
Well, if I can't find out in the next hour, actually, it's okay. I can wait. Okay, problem solved.
Or they'll call me.
And you're going to talk to them at some point, and maybe a phone call is a better way for you to communicate because I don't know about you, but speakerphone, I can have a conversation while I'm driving. I can't reply to emails.
Yeah.
Right. So just understanding that sometimes we need to rethink the way that we're working and doing things and give ourselves the space to do that, test it out. If it doesn't work and people start freaking out, well, I figure out something else.
But that's huge. That autoresponder, and I know that, but I've never used it. And that takes so much pressure not looking at my emails all day because I don't want to. I don't want to detract from my class.
Yeah.
But
and what you'll find is people are much more understanding about that time that it takes, right?
I'm not ignoring them.
Yeah, you're not ignoring them. You're teaching. You are busy. You have something else going on, and it's got nothing to do with them. They're not, people have all sorts of stuff going on in their heads. Every encounter that we have with other people, we evaluate through our own lens. So if you said something to me and I'm like, well, that's a weird thing for her to say. Why would she say that? Well, if it was me, I would say it because of this. Oh, so now I know she's mad at me. Even though it might be absolutely nothing, you know what I mean? We look at everything through our own lens. So they're not thinking about, poor Catherine, she's got so much going on. And, I know her son, it was a granddaughter, right? That you just had. So your granddaughter was just born and she's in the hospital and blah, blah, blah. Nobody's thinking about all of that. They're only thinking about what they need to deal with in the moment because, well, let's face it, we're all supposed to stay focused.
Yeah.
Right? Although I don't think that's the case, but so yeah, it's just recognize that just because something has been set, some boundary has been set, doesn't mean you can't move it. And sometimes moving those boundaries is also what creates enough space and time for you to go, oh, okay, you know what? All I have to worry about is this and this today, and I can push that off to tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh, excellent. Thank you.
Like, I'll tell you one of my examples, and I'm saying this because I think it's a common one that people are encountering right now. I jokingly said, I'm going to start packing my lunch to bring to the office. Now, you all know my office is in my house, and my kitchen's less than 30 feet away. But I book meetings every hour on the hour, and so there's no breaks in between. So I realized I need to start making sure that my meetings end 10 minutes before every hour so that I don't have to worry. I can get up and go and have a comfort break, or I can go and grab myself another cup of coffee, though I wouldn't do that right now because we're on backup coffee, or whatever the case may be. So again, recognizing I created that mess. It was my own fault. You just realize that, oh, I don't have to drive from meeting to meeting. I can get so much more done. No, actually, I can't get more done. I just fit in more meetings.
Mm-hmm.
So creating those boundaries, resetting those boundaries, looking at where they are and whether it's reasonable for you to say, no, you know what? I can't do that anymore. I need it to be this now. What do you need to happen to make it possible? Okay, makes sense?
Yeah, thank you so much.
No problem. Okay, so I just want to look at that. See, I set an alarm for myself because I said we have to end today before 10 o'clock. And I set an alarm for myself so that I would not forget. Okay, so I want to wrap up today by really just reminding you guys that motivation is really very importantly internal. If you are relying on external sources for your motivation, it's going to fail you every single time. What do you need to do for yourself to remind you what you're doing, what you're enjoying out of it? What do you get out of it? Why do you want to do this? Why did you bother saying you were going to do it in the first place? What excited you? What caught your interest? Ooh, I'd like to do that. Why? Why? What was it about it that was interesting? So keep that in mind and constantly be going back to that. Find ways to build that into your routine. Find ways to build in those rewards for yourself. Yeah, I got through that thing, even though it was really tough. And 5 minutes I'm going to spend thinking about, you know, kind of where I've accomplished. I'm going to write myself a note. Whatever. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as it matters to you. I want you guys to take all of this and go back and make your list of all of the things that you're working on. I want you to go through and make sure that they apply to your values and your why. And then I want you to prioritize them based on that. And when you've done that, then I want you to think about how excited you would be if you accomplish your goal. And that you need to build your reward around. Doesn't matter what it is. Could be, you know, a picture of the car or your boat, Maggie, or it could be, I don't know, Adam, what would you build? What would you have? What would remind you? Could be visual, could be a thing on our desk.
Yeah, it would probably be something like, I don't know, the opportunity for me to afford my own place at some point. Something like that. Some kind of distant goal off in the near future, something that I could work towards.
Okay, and how would you? But how would you make the short-term rewards towards that? Probably
like the look on my client's face when I get that done, and they're like, "Oh, you did a great job. You know, thank you very much. I'm glad. Thanks for your help." That kind of thing. That kind of short-term. That kind of appraisal is a very good short-term kind of reward in of itself, because it tells me that I'm going in the right direction. Okay. So, and here's a suggestion for you. I will say this. Sometimes we do need the visual reminders. Sometimes it can be internal visual. Sometimes, so, you know, if there's goals that you need to meet, for example, you need X number of clients at this amount, for you to get to that moment where, okay, I'm at that point now where I can afford to be out on my own. Put it on your whiteboard somewhere where the rest of us can't see it, or put it on there in a way we can't see. And every time you nail another client, add to it what you've got in the pot saving up for your place, or something along those lines, somewhere where you can see it, and make sure you're updating it. If it's the smile on the client's face, I want you to go and get yourself a set of sticky notes, this size sticky notes. And I want you to take that, and every time that you have done something that somebody's responded well and you've been like, yeah, I nailed it, I want you to write yourself a note reminding yourself what that situation was and what it felt like. And start sticking them up on your wall. And every single time, write yourself another one and stick it up on the wall. And it happens again, yeah, write yourself a note and stick it on the wall. Because at some point, you're going to start to see all of those, and they're going to start to remind you of you know, what you're really enjoying. Oh yeah, remember that time? They loved that. It was amazing. Because I know we all feel that way about what we do in our business, right? Yeah. So look for those little rewards like that, okay? All right. Okay. Very quickly, what would like you guys, 15 seconds, what are you taking away from today for yourselves? And I know that we kind of did that focus on Catherine thing, but I know that you guys were able to pick up some things for yourselves. I want to know what those are. So Aiden, what about you? What did you pick up out of these conversations today?
So yeah, one of the things I picked up today was definitely creating a list and breaking things down. So I will work on that.
And when are you going to do that?
Yeah, because I need to do that, build a list, break things down, and put a timeline to each and every one of them. Okay, and when I really am feeling overwhelmed by a lot of tasks that I have going on right now.
Yep. When are you going to do that by?
I should have that done shortly. I've already started working on it.
Okay, so here's what I want you guys to do. You don't have to post your list and all that kind of stuff, but once you've accomplished that, I kind of came out weird. Once you've accomplished that, I want you to post a note in the Facebook group in This Great City. I want you to go to This Great City. I want you to post a note that says you got it done, and one thing you got out of it, one thing that you realized because you've completed that task, okay? Maggie, what about you? What did you get out of today's chat?
Well, again, making lists, that's something that I've got to start doing more. And actually, for a writer, I don't put it on paper, it's in my head. And so I got to start putting it on paper and instead of just keeping it all in my head and losing it.
Okay, awesome. Okay, let's see, Catherine, what are you getting at it today?
Yeah, don't make it bigger than it really is. Once you get it down on paper, like Maggie was saying, it's usually more manageable.
Okay, awesome. Adam?
Probably find more short-term kind of appraisal methods, and to always, yeah, pretty much that was the big one for me. Motivation is something I do struggle with sometimes, though. So a lot of it is just me, kicking my own rear to go and do things. So trying to be a bit more courteous to myself to try and get things done without beating myself up unnecessarily.
That's huge. That's really important. Good, good, good. Teresa, oh, we have both Teresas. Teresa Lutz. What about you? She's still on mute, so it's possible she's occupied. And Teresa, I did see you come in, but I wasn't sure if you were able to engage. I saw the phone ring a couple of times. So I'm glad you joined us today. Thank you. And I don't know if you gained anything through being able to overhear the conversation today. She's fighting with the mute button. I know. It's like it's the bane of our existence in the Zoom world.
Yeah, especially on a phone.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, she's struggling. Can't make it work. It's all good. It's all good. No worries. Okay. Well, I'm glad that you came today anyways. Okay, guys, so we're going to wrap up, but I'm really quickly going to just fill you in on some changes that we're making. So there will be no get together next week. It's a long weekend. Yay! Well, Dusty has 6 days off in a row. So I have to work one of those days and I have a few other things, but we're taking a few days off. So starting in September, there's going to be some significant changes. The Monday morning hustle call will be switching to once a month. We're moving back to working with the membership more often. And so with our members, we're going to be doing some additional things. But the open call, you guys are welcome to invite people and join as you like, will be happening once a month. And it will be the second Monday of every month, and it will still be at 8:30 a.m. But starting in October, I am going to be offering a mastermind program through this great city. So I'm going to give you the specifics about that. That is going to happen twice a month. It's also going to be on Mondays, but it will be at 9:30 for an hour and a half. And it's actually going to alternate between the morning hustle. So we'll have a mastermind class one week. The next week will be hustle, and the next week will be mastermind. Just for the sake of scheduling, but this will be specifically for members, and it is a paid service. So the mastermind group, to be able to join for the 2 meetings a month and to get, the goal setting, the strategic planning stuff, we'll be doing bi-weekly meetings that will be accountability, it will be problem solving, it will be the goal setting, all of that stuff, and it will be a lot more in depth. That will be $25 if you're a member. Now, non-members can join that as well. So they can, follow this great city and they can decide that they want to take the mastermind program. For them, it will be $75. If you're a member, it's $25. No, sorry, per month. So I will tell you, this is a really, really, really kick-ass deal because coaches don't offer that. But as I said to you guys, this is the reason that I do this is not, because I was hoping to make lots of money off of doing the Monday morning hustle shows. But what I recognize is that unless you've got some skin in the game, people tend not to be terribly motivated to do something. So if you have to make a money commitment to something, you're probably going to be pretty serious about it. So that's why it's only $25 a month. And for non-members, we still want people to be involved with this great city. So $75 a month, it's still a really, really good deal. Like most mastermind programs are minimum $150. Depending on who it is you're working with. So all of the dates, all of the information will be posted on the Facebook page, and I would assume probably also on This Great City's Eventbrite, as well as the website. So you guys will be able to find the information, no problem. I know that the team is working to get all of the information about it up. And so once it is, we'll be sharing it lots, so you'll be able to find it. And with that said, I hope you all have a wonderful week and get lots of things done this week. And
Wednesday is the real estate?
so I believe Wednesday is the real estate one, and that's 8:30 Wednesday evening. Then
No,
Thursday,
morning.
sorry, yes, in the morning.
Special guy.
Right. And then on Thursday morning at 8:30 is Catherine with her Tech Talk. And Catherine, do we know what the topic is this week?
We're gonna actually talk about some of the new stuff because like Windows has been having problems, Windows 10, with fixes and stuff like that for your computer.
Okay, very cool, very cool. And then, like I said, next week there will be no Monday Morning Hustle because we're all going to be on vacation, relaxing, enjoying ourselves for the day. And then back in September, the first date for the next Monday Morning Hustle will actually be on I'm looking at my list, September the 14th. So everybody have a wonderful vacation day on Monday, and we will see you all in a couple weeks.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Hey.